Jim Sciutto in tonight for Aaron Burnett, and out front tonight, vote for me and you're not going to be shot. That's the case that Donald Trump is making tonight to black voters. Trump saying that the Democratic Party has failed them and that they have nothing to lose by trying someone new. The highly charged appeal criticized in part because so far he's delivered it to audiences who are almost exclusively white. But tonight he's speaking in Jackson, Mississippi, the city's population about 80% black. Earlier today, Trump at a rally in the crucial swing state of Florida hammered home this new message.
To those suffering and hurting and the people left behind, I say, vote for Donald Trump. Vote for Donald Trump. What do you have to lose? What do you have to lose? It cannot get any worse, and believe me, I'm going to fix it.
Jim Acosta is out front tonight at that Trump rally in Jackson, Mississippi. So, Jim, what more can you tell us about Trump's message tonight?
Jim, we expect Donald Trump to continue that outreach to minority voters that we heard earlier today in Florida. It's an outreach that a senior Trump campaign advisor tells me is really part of an ongoing conversation. They say they are looking forward, not back when it comes to that outreach. And it's a new approach that can be summed up by the candidate as, what do you have to lose?
With the poll showing he's in the single digits among African-American voters and trailing badly with other ethnic groups, Donald Trump is trying to hit a multicultural reset button.
What are you doing to reach out to minority voters? You've been talking a lot about Hispanics and African-Americans.
We're doing really great with minority voters.
At his rallies in recent days, Trump is making the case it's the Democratic Party that's taking advantage of minority voters.
I'll be able to make sure that when you walk down the street in your inner city or wherever you are, you're not going to be shot.
Trump's new pitch comes as he's teasing ahead to a new and perhaps softer policy on illegal immigration, a change that could appeal to not just Latinos, but other voting blocs turned off by the GOP nominee's supercharged rhetoric on the issue.
There certainly can be a softening because we're not looking to hurt people.
But even Trump's running mate, Mike Pence, could not describe what that updated policy will include.
Individuals who have committed crimes in this country are going to go, and they're going to go very quickly to be processed through our justice system and out of this country. And beyond that, I just think, stay tuned.
Still, Trump's shift in tone is notable, as he appears to be testing out a new outreach to Muslims.
Have you even read the United States Constitution?
Just weeks after his clash with the parents of a fallen Muslim American soldier, the Khan family.
Christians, Jews, Catholics, Muslims, everybody. You've got to get out and vote.
At the same time, he's continuing to pound Hillary Clinton's use of a private email server as Secretary of State.
Hillary Clinton created an illegal private email server, deliberately, willfully, and with total premeditation. Premeditation.
That sounded like a wink to supporters who have raised bogus questions about Clinton's health. Even one of Trump's own surrogates says both Clinton and Trump should fully disclose their health records.
You're going to have a lot of stamina and the ability to process a lot of information quickly. And we want to make sure that both candidates meet those qualifications.
Now, one of the other big questions is why Donald Trump is even doing in Mississippi tonight. That is a reliably red state that he ought to win come November, Jim. But one thing we do know about tonight, a Trump campaign official tells us that in addition to hearing from Donald Trump tonight, we will hear from the British politician Nigel Farage, who is one of the architects of the Brexit, that is Britain's exit from the European Union. Obviously, the Trump campaign sees a couple of parallels with the Brexit. One is they obviously would like to see a voter revolt here at the polls in the United States. The other one being they would like to see the polls be as wrong here in the United States as they were in Britain. Jim?
Also a joint anti-immigrant message there. Jim Acosta, thanks very much. Tonight's rally also comes as new CNN polls show Clinton within reach of winning 2 states that went red in the last presidential election. In the crucial swing state of North Carolina, Trump and Clinton neck and neck there among likely voters. Clinton has a 1-point lead that is within the margin of error. In Arizona, a state that hasn't gone blue since 1996, Clinton within 5 points of Trump there. Tom Foreman, he is out front tonight. So Tom, as we were reporting there, Donald Trump spending a lot of time trying to win over minority voters. Do these latest polls give him reason to be optimistic?
These latest polls give him reason to keep working hard at it. Let's think about this. If you look at North Carolina out here, in the last election, 2012, 1 in 5 voters there was African American. And right now that group is tilting very heavily to Hillary Clinton. 88% support for her in this poll among African Americans. Trump down here almost off the charts at 3%. Even the Libertarian candidate, Gary Johnson, is doubling his performance in that state. So that's a real challenge for him there. What if you move out to the next place, Arizona out there, which is normally a red state, as you noted? There, if you look at Latinos, which are a big voting bloc out there, again, 57% going for Clinton. Trump, less than half that amount at 20% down here. His pitch to minorities around the country really is to say, look, I'm an economy guy. I will bring jobs. I will bring opportunity. I will lift all boats with this rising tide of a great economy out here. And in the 2 states we're talking about, many voters in the general population believe that. But the minority population does not. They believe Hillary Clinton can handle the economy better, too. Jim?
Tom, there's been a consistency in many polls that those with more education tend to lean Clinton, those with less lean Trump. Do these latest polls tell us more about that?
These give us a lot more details on that. If you take a look out here at North Carolina, look at this. Among college grads, they tilt toward Hillary Clinton, 55% to 36%. Among white non-college grads, he absolutely crushes her here in North Carolina. And if we go over here to Nevada, same thing. College grads, she has a little lead here. White non-college grads, he's way, way out front of her. And these are some of the biggest gaps on education we've ever seen in our polling. Jim?
Tom Foreman in Washington, out front now, Executive Director of the New York State Democratic Party, Basil Smikle. He's a Hillary Clinton supporter. Former Reagan White House Political Director Jeffrey Lord. He is a Donald Trump supporter. Also the former Director of Black Outreach for President George W. Bush, Paris Denard. He's a member of the National Diversity Coalition for Donald Trump, and Hillary Clinton supporter Neera Tanden. Paris, if I could start with you. Look at that poll in North Carolina. Trump currently at 3% among African American voters, behind even Gary Johnson. I mean, it's basically within the margin of error. What evidence does he have that he could win over a significant number of black voters with this message?
I think the message is working. Look, before the convention, we saw polls that showed him at 0%. And then a couple of days ago, we had polls at between 1% and 2%. And now we at 3%. And I've also seen polls that show 6 to 14%. So what I see is increase. What I see is momentum. Governor Mitt Romney got 6% of the vote, and that was in November. We have a lot of time and a lot of ground to make up, and we're going to do it. Proof is positive in the message that's connected with the voters. Each time he speaks to the black community, his poll numbers rise. It's going to continue to rise.
Basil, I saw you shaking your head.
Listen, Donald Trump's outreach to me is ugly and it's abhorrent because, as you alluded to earlier, he's had largely white supporters. Perhaps in an effort to assuage their concerns about whether or not he's doing enough to outreach to minority communities, he's behaving in the way that he is. But my problem with that is that he's throwing up every racial stereotype that he can muster in speaking about communities of color. And there are a couple other problems. One, he's doing it largely in absentia without actually going to those communities and asking those voters for their support. Number two, one of the concerns I have is that in every major policy area where blacks have been historically discriminated against, instead of actually finding ways to create a stronger ground between sort of government, the business community, and the African American community, he's exacerbated those problems in much of his career. And if you look at Hillary Clinton, she's got a significant record on racial, economic, and social justice. And so I don't think African Americans should be fooled by Donald Trump's overtures.
Jeffrey Lord, let's just remind our viewers of some of the things that Trump has said that have not sat well, to say the least, with African American voters so far in the campaign. Have a quick listen.
Maybe he should have been roughed up, because it was absolutely disgusting what he was doing.
Will you unequivocally condemn David Duke and say that you don't want his vote or that of other white supremacists in this election?
Well, just so you understand, I don't know anything about David Duke, okay? I don't know anything about what you're even talking about with white supremacy or white supremacists. So I don't know.
Look at my African American over here. Look at him. Are you the greatest? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Jeffrey Lord, you hear those statements. Why should black voters believe that Donald Trump is sincere now?
Well, number one, let me just set the record straight, if I can, about the record of the Democratic Party. This is something I wrote 8 years ago for the Wall Street Journal. They had 6 platforms that supported slavery, over 20 that supported segregation, or they refused to even touch the subject. And on and on and on goes the list.
You're talking about the Democratic Party
going
back.
Wait. They just had a convention. They couldn't even bring themselves to apologize for slavery. I mean, so this is a party with a horrendous.
What are you talking about?
Wait, this is a party. Did they apologize for slavery, Asa?
Did they apologize for slavery?
Don't you think so?
Well, sure, but the fact of the matter is, but the fact of the matter is, that is a ridiculous argument.
No,
that's a ridiculous argument. Because what has the Democratic Party done for African Americans? We elected the first black president, the first black mayor of the city of New York.
Oh, Basil, we put
you tell me it doesn't matter. Somebody that Donald Trump said wasn't even raised here.
African Americans on food stamps has soared in the Obama era. So
again,
much
the
for
ugly
that kind of
statistics. All you know about the black
question you didn't answer, Jeffrey. This is a point about. I hear your point about the Democratic Party, their record, but the question you did not answer is how do black voters hear the many messages from Donald Trump over previous months and then reconcile that with this current outreach?
What they are hearing from Donald Trump, and I think Kellyanne Conway is going to be helping with this because she worked for my old boss, Jack Kemp, whose book I hold in my hands. And he advocated a direct approach to the African American community to go right into the heart of the community and talk economics, to talk jobs. Right. That's what we have to do. That's what Donald Trump is going to do. That's what he's all about here.
Very quickly, Donald Trump is no Jack Kemp. I have followed Jack Kemp in his career. He was actually a reasonable individual. Donald Trump is no Jack Kemp.
Well, let me just say, I remember
coming out of... He's championing the message of Jack Kemp, and that's what's important.
That's right. I remember coming out of the HUD building one day, and there were Democrats out there protesting with Jack Kemp as a racist, which was just bizarre and a terrible thing to say.
Neera Tanden, I see you there. I know you want to come in. What do you have to say?
It's hard to know where to start with Jeffrey Lord. Donald Trump started off his career attacking 5 innocent African Americans in the Central Park 5. He took ads out in this 20 years ago.
Are we going to talk about Super Predator?
He's been race baiting for several years now. And how most Americans know Donald Trump is through his attacks on the first African American president, his attacks on his birth status, his vicious assaults on him.
They know him as a successful
businessman. And not only that, in this
businessman.
campaign, he's attacked the civil rights discussion on policing and other issues, attacking people who've raised these issues. So the reality is that the African American community recognizes that for 13 months, he's been attacking civil rights heroes, he's been attacking the president, and 3 months ahead of the election, where he knows he's going to lose and lose badly, all of a sudden he wants to do fake outreach. And I think it's actually an insult to the intelligence of African Americans and the broader public who knows his positions, who've heard him over the last several months talk about really attacking several issues that African Americans are concerned about. Right, just in the last few weeks, he's been talking about vote rigging and limiting the voting rights of African Americans and others instead of expanding them. That's another way.
The DNC knows a lot about vote rigging when you look at what they did to Bernie Sanders. So let's start with your own house.
Listen, I want you to hold it. We're lucky because we're going to have you all back.
If you care about voting rights for everyone, then let's have him talk about stopping these voting rights assaults in the courts right now. He could do that right now. He can ask the state parties to stop
and Jeffrey in Paris, I know you have more to contribute, and we will get back. We have the luxury of more time after this break. Out front tonight, Donald Trump says, shut down the Clinton Foundation. Tonight, Bill Clinton fights back. Plus, Clinton linking Trump to a group called the alt-right. What exactly is it? We have a special report ahead. Breaking news, Bill Clinton fighting back. Tonight, he is responding to Donald Trump's allegations that Hillary Clinton sold access to the State Department through the Clinton Foundation.
we're trying to do good things. If there's something wrong with creating jobs and saving lives, I don't know what it is. And the people who gave the money knew exactly what they were doing. And I have nothing to say about it. I'm really proud. I'm proud of what they've done.
This is part of the Clinton campaign's effort to push to fight back against allegations of pay for play. Our Phil Mattingly is out front.
Tonight, Hillary Clinton's campaign is firing back as pressure grows over pay-to-play allegations at the Clinton Foundation.
I don't think that's a fair portrait. I think it's a misrepresentation of the data.
The campaign is attacking an Associated Press report that claims during the time she was Secretary of State, more than half of the people outside government Clinton met with were foundation donors. But the campaign says the AP analysis excluded meetings with foreign government officials.
To pull all of them out of the equation, cherry pick a very small number of meetings is pretty outrageous.
Her campaign is also defending the purpose and benefits of the foundation's work.
If any American voter is troubled by the idea that the Clintons want to continue working to solve the AIDS crisis on the side while Hillary Clinton is president, then don't vote for her. But I think that most voters are pretty reasonable on that point.
The AP found no evidence of Clinton doing anything unethical, and many of the people with whom she met were leaders of major charitable groups who have met with Republican and Democratic members of Congress. But the mere appearance of impropriety has given ammunition to Donald Trump as he continues to push for a special prosecutor to investigate the matter.
Hillary Clinton ran the State Department like a failed leader in a third world country. She sold favors and access in exchange for cash.
The review of donor access showing the presence of Ukrainian businessman Viktor Penchuk at a Clinton-hosted dinner. Penchuk, a foundation donor, had retained a lobbyist to arrange State Department meetings. It also showed a 2009 breakfast meeting attended by Blackstone Group chairman Stephen Schwarzman, the firm a major donor to the foundation. Schwarzman had requested the State Department's help on a visa issue. Meanwhile, the Clinton campaign is trying to shift its focus back to Donald Trump.
I think if you want to be hammering somebody in this race day in and day out about disclosure, it's a man who put out a 2-paragraph letter from a doctor whose own credentials appear bogus on his own letterhead, a man who has refused to release his tax returns.
And Jim, as you see, the Clinton campaign is refusing to give an inch on this, and you heard why from Bill Clinton. They believe the good the foundation does far outweighs the difficulties when it comes to politics. But those difficulties, they are very real, and if you talk to Democrats, as a lot of us have been doing all day today and yesterday, there's a lot of frustration here that this is an issue that Donald Trump has seized on. It's one that he's attacking on. It's one they're very concerned he will successfully stick to over the next couple of weeks. You heard from the Clinton campaign. They're not backing down. They don't believe there's any truth to the report that's been driving this coverage over the last couple days, Jim.
All right, Phil Mattingly in New York. My panel is back. Neera, Hillary Clinton facing what are major allegations here. And yes, we have heard Bill Clinton push back, as Phil Mattingly was saying there, but we haven't heard Hillary Clinton. She hasn't had a press conference in weeks, as you know, sit-down interviews with major media. Why is that? Why that silence?
She's not silent. The campaign has been very vocal on this set of issues, and the only issue I would take with your reporting on this is that it's not just the Clinton campaign. You have major news outlets, Vox, The Washington Post, other news outlets, recognizing that this AP story was a distortion.
But it's Hillary Clinton who's running for president. It's Hillary Clinton running for president. Why aren't we hearing that message from the candidate?
Right.
Her entire campaign is talking about this. I'm sure you'll hear about it from Hillary as well. She has a speech tomorrow. She'll be speaking over the next couple of days. I think the reality here is that this is a trumped-up charge by Donald Trump, who just recognize the idea that Donald Trump is talking about pay-to-play about anyone. When his campaign, we just learned, jackbooted up the price of the rent they were charging the campaign that goes to line his pockets during this campaign. Something where he is directly benefiting right now, where he has banks from China to Goldman Sachs who are essentially he's in debt to, but he will not stop those debts. He will not outline that for the American people. It is a ridiculous charge. What you see here is Republicans, conservatives going after the Clinton Foundation, which has done a lot of good
Okay.
for a lot of people. Its goal is to ensure
Okay,
that
I want to give Paris.
its goal. Let me just finish.
I want to give Paris a chance to
that
respond because
11
we don't have a lot of
million
time.
people in Africa
Hey,
have
Jim,
actually benefited, and that's an important goal.
This is the funny
Paris,
part about
go
this
ahead.
whole part. Nira has commented more about this than Hillary Clinton. We've heard the defense from her and from the rest of the campaign. But while
sure
she
you'll
is
hear
going
from her.
while she is going around fundraising and remaining silent about her pay-to-play allegations, which are good and factual, we see Donald Trump. We see Donald Trump meeting with Black and African American community and Hispanics like he's doing tomorrow at Trump Tower at 10 a.m. We see him going to the Black community like in Jackson, Mississippi, where there's the heart of the biggest HBCU. Jackson State University is right there.
You know what?
We
His
do
towers
not
are
hear
3
from
miles
Hillary
Harlem.
Clinton
When was
because
the
she
last time he was in
knows
Harlem?
that this is a true charge, which goes back to what they did while they were in the White House, play for parties in the Lincoln bedroom. The American people know that at the end of the day, things do not stick to the Clintons. The same.
This is ridiculous. We talk about there's no pay to play. There is no pay to play. Can't say it any more plainer than that. And even in the AP reporting, it sort of undermined its own report by basically saying that there was no pay to play. So
we saw
this is
emails. We saw emails
what
from
you-
the
you
Clinton
saw-
Foundation
you saw
requesting
emails-
meetings
you saw
from the State
emails
Department.
and made conclusions that couldn't be made. There is a cacophony
At least we
of
had those emails
lies
that
and
weren't
conspiracy
deleted. At
theories
least we had
coming from the
those.
Trump campaign.
Jeffrey, to you, just a quick point. Donald Trump calls the Clinton Foundation, in his words, the most corrupt enterprise in political history, but he gave them $100,000, and his campaign spokesperson acknowledged they do good work. Is that hypocritical?
I think they do some good work, and I think that he, along with a lot of people, gave money thinking that's what was going on. To the best of my knowledge, Donald Trump never met with Secretary Clinton asking for a favor from the State Department.
She's actually running against her and lying about her.
Now, let me just say here. Back in 1996, I wrote a piece for the Wall Street Journal. Ross Perot, in that race with Bill Clinton and Bob Dole, accused the Clinton White House of exactly this. I looked into it, found out that a drug dealer had gotten into the White House after making a $20,000 contribution and was there at a Christmas party hosted by Hillary Clinton.
Unbelievable.
And then they said, well, we have no idea how the guy got in. He had $20,000. That's how he got in.
This is
Folks, we're going
to have to
leave it there, unfortunately. But I want to thank Nira. I want to thank Paris, Jeff, Basil, as always. Out front next, Hillary Clinton tying Donald Trump to a white nationalist movement.